live.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome to Gensou Skydrift. My name is Ulvind. For those who don't know what Gensou Skydrift is, basically you had embodiment of Scarlet Devil earlier, but Freya. This is pretty much set in the same universe. So this is a racing game in the universe of Toho projects. Well, we're going to have a lot of we're going to play as a lot of characters during the run, mostly these 10 right here. These 8 right here, and we're going to have basically we're not going to have more of them during the run. So we're going to do the campaigns, which is the first campaign, which is composed of 10 tracks, and yeah, there's pretty much nothing else to do. Well, let's pretty much set up the countdown. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. So, the first campaign of Gensou Skydrift is actually pretty easy to understand. Most of the characters in this universe have seen their powers destabilized. And to make sure that their powers are stabilized, they have to ride actually on top of each other, like this. And the objective of this game is pretty much to do all races as soon as we possibly can. So one technique that will see me do pretty often is tapping slightly a brake button during just after I go through one of these rings. It's for a very simple reason, and this is okay. So the first skip of the run here is what we consider a non-item shortcut. And, oh my god, I already forgot what I was saying before. What you saw me doing here, like, here you see me, like, slightly drifting. This is called brake drifting. So basically, your speed is capped at a certain speed when you go through one of these rings. And it goes abruptly down as soon as you finish it. But if you press the B button, which is the button to help you drift, and accessory, and also helps you actually, and also actually helps you brake. Your speed will go down slower, and this is pretty much this run will be pretty much about conservation of momentum, and also use of what we call the spell cards. Because yes, this game doesn't really have items like in Mario Kart. It does have something that's resembling items, which is actually called spell cards. There are 3 types of spell cards. They are pretty much split between attack, defense, and boost. During the speedrun, we will mostly have need of 2 of them, which are in the boost category. Well, it's pretty much logical because it's a speedrun after all. And there are 2 boost items that you can have pretty much at any place. There's no distribution regarding on the... well, there is a distribution of the items, but basically every single duo can have every single item just with a different distribution. And here is the Cradle. It's one of the main boost items of the game. It's the most useful boost item in the game, actually. It helps you boost during about 3/4 of a second. And thing is, it raises you slightly above ground, which is pretty useful when you want to do certain shortcuts that are only available if you manage to have the Cradle with you. There's a second boost item, which is the Fan, which gives you a speed boost for 1.5 seconds. But this boost item actually doesn't give you the opportunity to be raised above ground, so it's mostly useful in straight lines, but not exactly with all the shenanigans we'll try to do with the shortcuts. So we're arriving on the third course, the human village. All tracks are actually mostly inspired by biomes, or at least elements from the Toho universe. For example, the next track after this one, I'm not going to spoil. It's basically modeled. I mean, if you are a fan of the Toho universe, you recognize a lot of things from the different Toho games. And here, a little known fact: it's actually pretty much easier here to switch over and over instead of trying to boost as much as you can. Because every single switch you do gives you a slight speed boost, but it lowers the spell gauge of your character. So you have to use it pretty wisely, and it's pretty much in this run a combination between using the items at the right moment and making sure you have enough to actually do the track as intended. Okay, I'm going to wait here to gain a couple. There we go. And during this run, it's pretty much a combination of all of that. You're going to pretty much want to have the best items at the best moment, and then trying to set up so you conserve your speed for as long as you possibly can. So here, I actually did this run, I think, a week earlier, something like that, at another marathon, and it was actually commentated by, let's say, prominent figures of the Gensou Skydrift community. And, well, let's say that this run was pretty much to their standards considered subpar, so I decided to train a little bit more for this run at least to show that. I mean, not necessarily that I was, like, to their standards, but at least that I show that I trained and that I have a little bit of skill. So, next track is Scarlet Devil Mansion. You probably know it. So you see the top. You see right here. Okay, here. God, it's hard to actually focus and talk at the same time. Okay. So yeah, during the run you will mostly try to do the best. It's mostly a matter of having the best lines and also not being hit as much by the items of the opponents, because the opponents can throw items that can pretty much throw you off. Thing is, you don't hear as much as in Mario Kart, for example, the blue shells. So here we're going to take the top row right there on this portion of the castle. Okay, we're going to take the right here on this portion of the castle. We're going to ride pretty much at the same place we were here. It saves around 1.5 to 2 seconds, and you can do it pretty much at lap 2 and lap 3, because at lap 1 you're basically behind the point where you can actually take the shortcuts. Oh. It's not really good. Okay, here. So here it's not going to... Most of the items we're going to have are not necessarily useful. Because, as I said, we're mostly going to need 2 items. And 2 types of items, which is 2 items, which is, as I explained, the fan and the cradle. And and your objective will be to pretty much cycle through these items, but also having the potential to actually switch as often as you possibly can. Oh, and here we're going to have we're going to get hit by one of the items here. It basically stops our momentum for like 2 seconds, but that's fine. We can definitely hold off. So here we are in Moonlit Bamboo Thicket, and you control 2 other characters. And yeah, basically you control a total of 4 duos during the entire run, and it's mostly a matter of making sure you have the best characters at the best places. Like for example here, this character is not ideal because we want to have a character that has a great drift stats in this place, whereas the character on as the dwarf here is not necessarily the best stat. So we're going to see what items we'll get. That's fine. So yeah, you have to pretty much you have to make sure the spell gauge of your characters is as high as it possibly can be. Mostly so you can switch. Mostly so you can switch as often as you can. So here we're going to see what items you get. Still defensive, that's fine. Need to wait a bit here. So I'm going to try and get the cradle on this map, mostly because there's a shortcut I want to take at the end, but it's extremely hard to take, and you need to have the cradle for that one. But to be fair, during all these runs, you're supposed to the AI is not necessarily a problem in this campaign. Well, the most they can do is actually this. This is what I basically call an ultimate. Is when you see that you have on top of the red bar becomes green, etc. You have a small yellow bar, and when that yellow bar is full, you can activate pretty much what I call an ultimate. It's pretty much a special power. It's pretty much a special power, like the specific items you would have for a character in Mario Kart Double Dash, and those specific items are actually those specific powers. For example, the one that I had in the previous track, it's basically saps me of every single of everything I had in my spell gauge, so I have to build it again, which is not necessarily ideal to have when you want to have the best run possible, because when you have problems with your spell gauge, you're basically forced to completely grind to a halt, and it's taking extremely long to just have the best run possible. So I'm going to try and get God, not the right item, I'm afraid. So this is the fan, the second item I was talking about. So it gives you a boost of speed for 1.5 seconds, as you see here. But it does not bring you to a certain height, and you need to get over a fence. And if you don't have the cradle, you can't actually jump over the fence and do this shortcut. So, I mean, it's still a boost item, but it's not necessarily the boost item we want to get for this run. So yeah, you'll see me actually having a lot of activating a lot of switches right there. You basically have to switch for the entire run if you want to have the best speed as possible, and trying to do as well the brake drifting to have your speed conserved for as long as you possibly can. Alright, enemy arriving at the end of the track. It's going a little better than I expected, apart from the previous track where I was hit on the Scarlet Devil Mansion when I was hit. Other than that, it's actually going pretty smoothly. I'm fine with that. Okay, so this track is actually the longest track of the game. Most tracks, when they get extremely long, like the one we saw previously, when you basically have laps of something close to 1 minute, they're basically in 2 laps. This one is in 3 laps, but it's basically the length of the tracks you would see that have to be driven in 2 laps. So this makes it the longest track of the game. You basically a good playthrough of it would be to complete it in about 3 minutes to 3 minutes and 15 seconds. So here it's an attack item. I'm pretty much getting rid of it because it's not extremely useful in the context of the run. Same as this defensive item. It's not really useful against the ultimate, so all in all, it's not necessarily the item you want to have if you want to go as fast as you possibly can. So here we're going to begin our second lap. Thing is, as it is an extremely long track, the enemies will have their ultimates, and we will have our ultimate as well. So no, it shouldn't be a problem. But we will barely have the time, and to be fair, I'm not really actually triggering having enough in the spell bar to actually trigger it, because to trigger the ultimate, you have to have your spell bar entirely in the blue, because there are a total of 3 levels. You have the red level right here that builds towards the first level of the spell cards. You have the second level, which is the blue one, and then Koishi again. So Koishi, her ultimate is actually to drain your spell bar. So, like I said, you can't switch. You're taking way longer to do anything. So it's not necessarily the best ultimate to fall victim of. Oh, okay. One of the items here that when you're in last place, you can actually when you're in last place, you can actually get a lot of it, which is here. Oh god, what am I doing? Oh, yeah, that's why I was talking about managing your. You have to manage your spell bar as well, so you don't pretty much like fall with nothing and have to pretty much grind to a halt compared to what you have to do normally. Okay, so here is Hakigokuro, or as the community likes to call it, tree. So it's basically a Sakura tree, and my objective will be here to switch as fast as I possibly can get as far as I possibly can from the scaffold, because at the beginning of the track you will often see the AI launching their items. Let me just check behind me. There we go. In case I might get hit by something. But yeah, like I said, it's mostly a matter of managing your spell bar, managing everything to make sure you have the best trajectories. So here you pretty much see that I'm in front, and normally, unless I do something very wrong, I should be in front until the end of the race. I mean, at this, the campaign is a little easy. It's pretty easy to complete without resetting at least once. Because yes, we have to get first on every single track. Because if you don't get first on any track, you have to redo the track. Which happened to me during one of my first BBs, but it's not going to be a problem here. And there you go. So we're going to have 2 more tracks, which are this one, Embers of Blazing Hell, which has the best soundtrack of the game. I'll let you hear it, because this soundtrack is a sight to behold. So yeah, during the first lap there is not much to do. It's mostly drive as fast as you can along the track. There is one section that you can squeeze by, which is pretty close, like right here. The hitbox of the fire is actually not that big, so you can pass through the fire pretty easily. So here I can do the cycle. Because yes, the fire here is on the side. The lava, pretty much what's the metal infusion is pretty much on a cycle. So you have to be. You have to remember the cycles as well, depending on the speed at which you go during the run. Ooh, this is not the best characters you have here. Because the drift is not exactly the best, but I'll manage it. There you go. I'm going to shoot. Going to in here. Oh god, oh, this is bad. Okay, we are arriving on the second lap. And, oh, right at the tail end of the cycle here, nice. And, most of the tracks we're just going to do them as fast as we possibly can, trying to find either shortcuts or like very slight corner cuts. Okay, so this is how you want to take this this corner here, as close to the wall as you possibly can. And this isn't really a problem here. Okay, so I'm going to try. Oh god, yeah, I'm going to get hit again. But that's fine. Okay, so at least I got the end of the cycle, which is fine. That's not exactly what I wanted, but I'll take it. Because yes, if you go a little bit too fast, you'll actually skip the platform and fall into the void, will fall to the molten lava, which is not what you want to do. So this is the last level, Misty Lake, and we discover the culprits, which is, you guessed it, pretty much Solo. And here we're going to do a slight series of drifts to have a little bit higher speed and little corner cuts there to maintain the best speed here. Yeah, okay. It's not the best, but I'll take it. So this circuit, when you arrive from the previous circuit, is actually extremely technical. Mostly due to this section. If you're not having the right combination, which is actually this one here, you actually won't make it without falling at least once. Which is definitely not what you want to do. Like, you definitely don't want to fall in this track. So here we're going to do a slight corner cut again. And here we're going to... okay, good. We're going to slightly tap the brake button in this this spiral there. It's pretty close to the R-Tech in Mario Kart Double Dash. And we're going to do this same cut again. It's not exactly ideal. Because you want to not bump on the platform there and have some air. You want to go directly on the platform, which is the best course of action. So here, this section, again, you have to have Marisa on top and Rainu at the bottom. I don't like the sound of that. And here you want to cut as close to the walls as you possibly can. Oh god. You want to cut as close to the walls as you possibly can. And get ready. Time. Well, that actually went not as bad as I thought it would be. It actually went pretty good. So yeah, can I have the final time, because I didn't.
26:06.
Yeah, that's a PB. That's
awesome.
That's a PB by 4 seconds compared to what I had on the previous attempt. Yes, so I'm pretty satisfied with that. I was expecting I was probably expecting a sub 26, but that's fine, I guess. So yeah, shoutouts to the Gensou Skydrift community. There's a pretty big community around this game. And actually, I wanted a lot of the community to be present for this run, but thing is, a huge chunk of the community is in the tournament right now, because there was a tournament that was done like right during my run. I mean, it started at midnight, so about 2.5 hours ago. And yeah, it started 2.5 hours ago, and it's still ongoing. And yeah, shoutouts to the Gensou Skydrift community, shoutouts to Kratfizz, shoutouts to Repudiator, and a lot of others, really. And yeah, I hope you like this game. I hope I wasn't too awkward. And yeah, see you next time, probably with another game, I hope. And yeah, see ya, and good night.